Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a really pivotal exchange between Hades and Persephone. Two figures whose names, well, they just echo through mythology, don't they?
They certainly do.
Our source for this is Blood of Zeus, Lord and Queen, which is a narrative that really digs into how their, let's say, complex relationship develops. And our mission, really, in this deep dive is to trace those subtle power shifts, and maybe catch those intriguing glimpses of vulnerability that flicker beneath their formidable surfaces. We're looking at one specific interaction here.
Yeah, and this moment is fascinating because it really gives us a concentrated look, kind of behind the usual myths. It lets us explore the evolving dynamics of their connection right there in the underworld.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It's this obsidian chamber, right? You've got the everlasting fire, these ancient carvings. What do these details suggest to you? How do they set the stage? My first thought is just, wow, the sheer weight of history and power.
Oh, absolutely. What's compelling is how these sensory details immediately ground us in Hades's realm and his authority. Obsidian, that dark volcanic glass.
Right.
It speaks to something raw, potent, maybe even immutable power.
Right.
And the everlasting fire suggests something, well, timeless, unyielding, a bit like Hades's role itself, maybe. And those ancient carvings, yeah, they whisper of a long history, a lineage of dominion, the deep roots of his rule. It's a space that feels, both eternal and intensely his.
Exactly. It's the ultimate seat of power, really.
Yeah.
And into this space walks Persephone. But she's not the terrified captive we sometimes picture from myth, is she? She's shown here with this newfound grace, confidence as queen. That's a pretty dramatic shift.
It really is. And this portrayal, it emphasizes her agency. The narrative points out how the mantle of queen suited her. So it's suggesting this isn't just a title she's wearing. It's an identity she's actually embraced, grown into. And what's really insightful, I think, is her understanding of the underworld's power, but also its loneliness. It shows she's not just, sitting on a throne. She's actively perceiving, processing the essence of this realm.
Yeah, that's interesting. It makes you wonder what specific experiences might have led her to that understanding, that perception of loneliness. So how does Hades react, this, formidable Lord of the Dead, facing this visibly transformed Persephone? We get that initial unreadable expression, but then there's that subtle shift in his tone. He acknowledges she's come willingly now. What do you make of that?
Well, that acknowledgement of her willingness, it feels like a subtle but really crucial pivot in how they interact. It indicates Hades is aware, right? He sees her transformation, her growing autonomy within their relationship.
Okay.
So while his default might be impassivity, that specific observation, it hints at a recognition of her changed status, maybe even a flicker of respect, or at least an acknowledgement that things are different. He's not blind to the shift.
Right, he sees it. Which leads into this really thought-provoking bit about loneliness. Hades says, it's the burden of a ruler, solitary weight. But Persephone kind of pushes back, doesn't she? She links it more to isolation. What's the key difference you see there?
Yeah, this is where their individual experiences, maybe their fundamental natures, really come into play. Hades seems to just accept loneliness as, part of the job description, an unavoidable consequence of being in charge. Persephone, though, she reframes it. He suggests his isolation, the way he's perhaps constructed his power, distanced himself maybe, is a big factor in that loneliness.
Oh, I see.
It's not just about being the boss. It's about the walls he might have put up. It does make you consider if she's speaking from her own past experience of feeling isolated, perhaps, even with power.
That's a great point, and it perfectly sets up Persephone's very direct question. What are you, Hades? His reply, what I have to be. The balance to the keeper of secrets that feels incredibly revealing somehow. How do you read that?
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because his answer focuses entirely on his function, his role within the cosmic order, the balance to the light. That's such a potent image. It emphasizes his necessary, eternal connection to the world above, even from the shadows.
Yeah.
But that phrase, what I have to be, it also carries this hint of constraint, almost like he sees himself bound by these responsibilities, maybe even a resignation to fate. It begs the question, is this truly him, or just the role he feels forced to play?
And then right in the middle of all this formidable presence, we get that rare glimpse of vulnerability. The text mentions a subtle shift, the possibility of more than just the Lord of the Dead. And it's underscored by that gentle touch.
Yeah.
What's the significance of that tiny gesture?
Oh, that touch is huge. It's a powerful disruption of his usual, imposing demeanor. It suggests a capacity for tenderness that might be dormant, hidden beneath that formidable exterior. The implication that perhaps there is more, it hints at a kind of longing, maybe. A potential for connection that goes beyond just being the ruler of the underworld. It's a moment where the godlike facade seems to crack, just for a second. And Persephone seems to be the catalyst.
Right. What do you think prompts it in that particular moment? Is it her question? Her presence?
It could be her understanding, perhaps. Her comment about isolation. Maybe that resonates with him in a way that allows that vulnerability to just surface.
Makes sense. And it's not just him showing vulnerability, is it? The narrative also makes sure to highlight Persephone's strength. Hades actually acknowledges her transformation into a powerful queen, commanding the dead, wielding power, but still having that inner fire.
Exactly. It's not a one-way street. Their interaction isn't just about Hades showing a softer side. It's also a recognition of Persephone's own, formidable presence and resilience now. She hasn't been diminished by becoming queen of the underworld. That essential spark, that fire within her, it's still there. And that creates a sense of balance in their dynamic, I think. They're both powerful figures navigating this shared rule.
So it's not just tolerance, it's actual recognition of her power from him.
Yes, exactly. That feels significant.
Which leads beautifully into Persephone's observation, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About a potential heart beating beneath the shadows in Hades.
Mm-hmm.
It directly mirrors the loneliness she sensed earlier. It's like she's seeing a reflection of her own complex experience in him.
That's such a key moment of connection. She recognizes a kind of kindred spirit in Hades, someone who, despite all the immense power and that unyielding nature, might also be experiencing some form of isolation.
Mm-hmm.
This mutual recognition, this mirroring of their perceived loneliness, it feels like a crucial turning point. It suggests a much deeper level of understanding developing between them. It makes you wonder if their shared experience of power, even in different roles, creates this unique bond.
And then, Hades' concession. That softened expression, the possibility that Persephone could be the one to find his heart. I mean, that's a dramatic departure from the usual image of the unyielding Lord of the Dead. What does that suggest about where their relationship could go?
It's a remarkable concession, especially from Hades. For him, the embodiment of the unchanging underworld, to even entertain the idea that his heart could be found, and specifically by Persephone, well, it speaks volumes about her impact on him.
Right.
It hints at a profound shift in his internal landscape, maybe. A willingness to consider a connection that goes beyond just Lord and Queen. It really makes you wonder what qualities she possesses that could draw that response out of him.
The scene then ends with this really palpable tension, doesn't it? This weight of their shared history, but also the sense of something new, something almost inevitable on the horizon. It really leaves you hanging.
Mm-hmm. It's a moment just charged with unspoken potential. That unspoken desire and the feeling of inevitability. It suggests their relationship is evolving beyond just obligation or duty. It's moving towards something far more intricate, more emotionally resonant. The narrative really captures this pivotal moment of transition, of anticipation.
So looking back at this interaction, we've essentially witnessed a pretty significant power shift, wouldn't you say? And this burgeoning emotional connection between Hades and Persephone. She's clearly not just a captive anymore.
Not at all.
She's a queen who understands the nuances of her realm, its power and its loneliness. And Hades, while still embodying that immense power, reveals these surprising glimpses of vulnerability, a potential yearning for connection that seems to mirror her own experiences.
Precisely. We see those contrasting facets so clearly, her journey from maybe fear to real strength, and his stoicism occasionally giving way to tenderness. And the source, it beautifully lays the groundwork for a deeper, much more complex relationship to blossom between them. It really hints at a future that deviates from those more static mythological portrayals we often see.
Absolutely. So this deep dive into this powerful interaction really leaves us with something for you, the listener, to think about. Consider how deeply ingrained roles and perceived power can, both construct these formidable barriers, but also, maybe unexpectedly, pave the way for profound intimacy and understanding, even for beings as powerful as gods. What might this reveal about the fundamental human, or perhaps we should say, divine need for connection that transcends even the most rigid roles and expectations? Thanks for joining us for this